It's nice to see you all here. Yesterday, Dr. Narendra he took a talk on health, and today I'll be giving a short talk on hypertension. How many of us here know someone or who is having high BP or who is hypertensive? Yes, I was expecting at least one hand to go up, and a few hands went up. Hypertension is very common in India. Many of us don't know that we have hypertension until something bad happens. So I'll be giving you a brief talk on hypertension and how we can deal with it in a natural way. So, what is blood pressure? As all of us know, or you might have heard about high blood pressure, low blood pressure, but what is blood pressure? In very simple terms, for all of us to understand, blood pressure is the force of blood against artery walls. Okay, so we have different types of blood vessels in our bodies, arteries and veins, but blood pressure is the force of blood against the artery walls. And blood pressure is very important for life. Without blood pressure, we cannot survive. So blood pressure is very important. So what does blood pressure do? It moves the blood in the body to different parts of the body and different organs. Okay, so without blood pressure, the blood won't move in our body. So blood pressure is very important. So here is a short video clip of the heart, and you can see the heart moving, right? It's contracting and relaxing, right? The part where you see the heart contracting, it's called a systole. That's a medical term, systole. And when you see the heart relaxing, it's called a diastole. So you might have seen or heard someone saying, I have high blood pressure, 140 by 90, right? 140 the top number, 90 the lower number, right? So the top number is related to when the heart is contracting. Okay, when the heart is squeezing, that is the top number of the BP or the blood pressure. And the lower number is when the heart is relaxing. That is the diastole. Okay, so it's a very simple way to understand blood pressure. What is high blood pressure? What is low blood pressure? In this slide, we see the normal numbers for blood pressure. That is less than 120 and less than 80. You can see in the lower left side. People who have less than 120 by 80 of blood pressure, that is normal for them. And we have to try to maintain our blood pressure in these numbers. And you can see in the table over here, the different stages of blood pressure. The top one is a normal blood pressure. After that is pre-hypertension. And then we have hypertension stage 1, stage 2. And the last one is malignant or dangerous hypertension. Right? And those are the numbers over there. I'm not going to go in details, but it's just for your information. Hypertension in India, 33% in urban population. That's how many hypertensives are there in India. So in Bangalore city, we have about 33% of hypertensives. But when you look at the numbers really closely, we see that about 42% only know that they have a problem. It's like less than half the people know that they have a problem of high BP or hypertension. And when you look at the rural population, that means in the villages, but 25% have hypertension, and about 25% know that they have hypertension. So hypertension, not many people know that they have high BP or hypertension. So it's very important that we get our blood pressure checked regularly. There are two types of hypertension. The first one is primary hypertension. The cause is not known. So despite the advances in science, no one knows what the real cause of hypertension is when a person has primary hypertension. Secondary hypertension means that a person has some underlying disease. That could be a kidney disease or a disease in the adrenal glands or some other types of diseases. These are just two examples, but there are many. So the types of hypertension is primary hypertension when there is no underlying disease, and secondary hypertension. Hypertension, as some of us know, it's called silent killer. Why is it called silent killer? Because nobody knows that they have high BP. There are no symptoms. Person is normal, he goes through work, comes back home, eats food, but at the end of the day, he has high BP or hypertension. 1 in 4 people don't know that they have hypertension. I can confidently say in this room, 1 in 4 people we don't know, but they have high blood pressure. Silent damage to vital organs of the body. So, because of the high BP, it damages many organs in the body, and we don't know about it. That's why it's called silent killer. In this chart, in this slide, we see the of how hypertension causes damage to different parts in the body and different organs in the body. We see the first one, the first risk of rupture. So that means high blood pressure can cause damage to the arteries in your body, and that can cause the arteries to burst. So when that happens, a person will have a stroke. And because of high BP, the artery walls can also be damaged, and because of the damage in the artery walls, can cause some plaque formation, or different cells or some fat gets accumulated and blocks the arteries, and there is no proper blood supply. And it also leads to heart attacks and tissue damage. And long-term hypertensives, people who have hypertension for a long time, can have organ damage. So it can affect the heart, it can affect the brain, it can affect the eyes, it can affect the kidneys, and a lot of problems with people who have high BP. So who gets hypertension? These are some of the risk factors for hypertension. A person who is little elderly, people who are more than 40, more than 50 have a higher risk of developing hypertension, and if there is also family history of hypertension. Also race. Studies have shown that people of African heritage have a high risk for developing hypertension. And people who are overweight and people who are not physically active, those who don't do any exercise, those who are overweight can develop hypertension. They're at high risk of developing hypertension. And of course, high alcohol intake. High alcohol intake is really bad. It can cause hypertension. And high sodium intake. People who eat a lot of salt, salty foods. In India, we like to consume a lot of salt, right? In this chart, we see the recommended amount of salt a person needs in a day. According to WHO, World Health Organization, less than 1 teaspoon of salt per day is recommended per person. And according to the American Heart Association, it is about 3/4 of a teaspoon. So it's about 1.5 milligrams a person needs. That's the amount of salt a person needs. But if you look in India, average Indian consumes about 11 grams of salt per day. That is about 5 teaspoons of salt per day. We eat a lot of salty food, and it is really bad for our health. Stress is also known to cause hypertension. People who, especially we live in a city, urban life, the high levels of stress, that can also cause hypertension. So what are some of the lifestyle treatments of hypertension? How we can deal with hypertension? In very simple ways. It's not at all difficult. It is all in our hands. The recommended diet is called a DASH diet, DASH, dietary approaches for stopping hypertension. That is the full form. Dietary approaches for stopping hypertension, DASH. So this diet emphasizes on eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, and you have to consume less milk or dairy products, and eat a lot of whole grains and nuts, and reduce the intake of red meat, fatty foods, sweets, and soft drinks. This is a very rough or brief description of what the DASH diet is. And studies have shown that the DASH diet has reduced blood pressure significantly. If you see a person, the first chart over here, person eating a DASH diet, they have been able to drop their hypertension by about 6 points. And a person who has reduced salt and also following the DASH diet, they've been able to reduce their BP to about 9 points. And a hypertensive patient who was following the DASH diet, that person was able to reduce his or her BP by 11.5 points. So the DASH diet is really effective, but you only need to put it into practice. Apart from diet, exercise is very important. Regular exercise lowers your blood pressure. You have to be physically active. Adults should get about 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise every week. So to understand it more simpler, in a simpler way, about 30 minutes of walking or jogging every day is really good for your health. But just regular walking also is good. You can start off with regular walking for about half an hour every day. Uh, some examples of moderate intensity exercises like gardening, brisk walking, cycling, or aerobic exercises. These are some examples. And apart from exercises, walking, you need to build up your muscle strength. So try to do some core building exercises. There are a lot of examples. You can find it on the internet. I'm not going to get into it, but muscle strengthening is also important for hypertensives. Next is to lose weight. People who have excess weight or who are carrying a lot of weight, find ways to reduce your weight. The easy ways is to control the amount of calories we take. Reduce the amount of food we eat, or check what kinds of foods we're eating. No high fatty foods and no high sugary foods. These kind of foods, and along with a dietary control, you have to have regular physical activity, and then that's a very effective way to lose weight. We have to look for a BMI, that is body mass index, of less than 23. 18 to 24.9 is the healthy BMI. Try to look for a BMI to less than 23. And of course, you have to avoid alcohol. People who drink alcohol, they tend to put on more weight. They tend to be more heavy. And more weight can cause high blood pressure. Of course, relieving your stress. Find ways to relieve your stress. Find a hobby or do something which out of your daily routine to decrease your stress levels. Some foods which lower your blood pressure are fruits. We have plentiful fruits in Bangalore, and different kinds of bananas, especially in Bangalore. Bananas are known to reduce your high blood pressure because it has a lot of potassium. Potassium is one salt which can reduce your blood pressure. Some examples of foods with high potassium: spinach, sweet potato, beetroot greens, pomegranate. Coconut water is very high in potassium. Coconut water is really good for hypertensives. Beans, bananas, avocados. These are easily available here in Bangalore. So try to get these foods into your daily diet. Flaxseed is also very good for hypertensives. Flaxseed reduces the fats in your blood, and it also eventually reduces your blood pressure. Have about 1 to 2 tablespoons of flaxseed every day. You can dry roast the flax seeds, make it into a powder, and use about 1 or 2 tablespoons of flaxseed with your food. You can sprinkle in your salads or in your rice or in your vegetables and eat it every day. This can significantly control or reduce your blood pressure. Beetroot juice. Beetroot juice has high levels of nitrates in it. Apart from beetroot juice, other foods which has nitrates is arugula. Arugula is a type of green leafy vegetable. Also coriander leaf, basil leaves. beetroot greens, beetroot. So what beetroot, the nitrates in beetroot, what it does is it opens up the arteries, and it enables the body to extract more energy from the blood. And because of beetroot juice, you'll have better endurance as well. Uh, Lastly, garlic. Garlic, all of us like garlic, right? But the way you eat it is important. Garlic has a compound called allicin. So this helps dilate the blood vessels and also reduces the cholesterol and your body fats uh, in your circulation. Try to have one clove of garlic every day on an empty stomach with a glass of water. Okay, that's the best way for hypertensives to control their blood pressure. To summarize, maintain a healthy weight. Okay, all hypertensives should maintain a healthy weight. Should control your salt intake. Try to keep it at least less than one teaspoon of salt every day, and exercise regularly, about 30 to 60 minutes of exercise per day. Brisk walking or regular walking is the best way to start off with. Avoid alcohol. Uh, we recommend a whole food plant-based diet. Okay, that's what is the best diet. A whole food plant-based diet. If you're able to stick to this kind of a diet, your blood pressure will be stabilized. Lastly, manage your stress. Find ways to manage your stress. Health is not valued till sickness comes. So why wait until you get sick? Make sure you check your blood pressures regularly, at least once in 6 months or once in 3 months. People who are overweight or who are more than 40, try to check your blood pressure every 3 months. In that way, you'll be able to know if you have a high blood pressure or not. Thank you.